Hello internets, I'm HamsterBomb and you guys are watching another figure review video, and this time I have a really cool one to show you guys. Especially now with this guy just recently getting into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm going to show you guys the Joker Figma. This came out about a year or so ago, but they're actually re-releasing it for later this year, 2019. And it's supposedly coming out with some new pre-order part. It's nothing really for him, it's actually for Morgana. I think it's just like another alternate head with different eyes, so I don't know why you'd want that. Basically, the big deal about that is it's going to be cheaper. Luckily for me, I actually got this guy a while ago, and he was actually a really good deal, so cool, awesome. So I get to show you guys this Figma early, see you know, what kind of stuff it's going to come with, how the Figma works, how the extra parts and everything works with this guy. Just before you get it yourself, or if you're just interested in taking a look at the thing. It's really nice, and it's actually kind of different from my other Figmas, so I do want to make sure that I have a special video showing this thing off for you guys, first off. Also, before I get into this, because I always like go box, accessories, and the main guy itself, I want to point out I'm also going to be doing a review video for the Arsene model from Axe. I believe it's Axe, pronounced Axe. It's a company that actually made a giant Arsene model to be modeled to size for this Figma. So very excited to show the two together. That's going to be a while. I'm still waiting for the guy to come in, but because it just came out as I filmed this. But anyway, let's take a look at the box first, just so I can get this big thing out of the way here. Well, I just totally knocked him over back there. It'll be all right. The stands are really good. So anyway, this looks like a typical Figma box. You can kind of see here just from the front of it. Here's just some art on the bottom of it. They have a bunch of different poses and shots showing Joker from Persona 5, if I hadn't even mentioned that yet, from all different angles and stuff on here. Looks very cool. A bunch of different promotional artwork, of course, is on the back. Also, you want to make sure if yours is real or not. You can kind of tell by stickers that they have on the front here. This one actually has this Jack Frost sticker. If that's not actually a sticker on yours, then that's something you might want to go into, because I know for a fact that mine is a real one. So keep in mind, take a look for stuff like that. But anyway, there's also Figma, supposedly like little stands or something like that that punch out on the inside. His is just solid red. I've never honestly even messed with those things, so whatever. Honestly, they're stands that they... Wow, this isn't working right now. It's probably because I was just messing with his... There we go. His stand, I didn't have it angling him quite right. You're actually kind of at a low angle right now. So anyway, I haven't been able to do any Persona 5 on my channel. Atlas is not a big fan of letting YouTubers do their stuff online, and I'm totally going to respect their interest for that. I would rather you guys experience the game by playing it yourself. It's one of those story-based games that I do understand they would lose money from the story being spoiled for people online. Just to get some things out of the way, of course, you always get a Figma bag with these guys to keep all of their parts, you know, separate, which is very nice. I love these things. A few other accessories before we get into the main guy. You also always get a spare joint. It's a wrist joint, because these things sometimes do break. I've never had one of mine ever break, but it's just there for you if you want it. If you're switching hands or something and the thing busts out. So speaking of hands, let's take a look at this. They always give you these little pieces to hold all the hands together, and of course there's two hands that are on Joker right now, so ignore those. You've basically got one hand to hold the dagger. If you wanted to hold the dagger and the gun at the same time, is the only reason he would have this other hand for grabbing. Two fists. I don't have them next to each other, but we have two fists, and then there's two open hands. He's using one of the open hands right now. And obviously this one is specifically for holding the gun. The gun is a different piece, so you're going to have to get it into position inside of his hand. And then basically once I do that, I just keep it in and never take the thing out, because there's no... You wouldn't need the gun without the hand holding the gun, so you might as well just connect the two like so. Other than that, as you can see on here, he has one hair piece. We're going to see it in more detail later that has his mask attached to it. This is just him with no mask. And I kind of want to mention, I find it a little unusual. He didn't come with, say, a hand that could hold his mask or just the mask part individually. This is modeled to his hair back here, so that's a hair piece. This is just without that. So I do understand he can like take the mask off and it, you know, turns into some blue fire or something when he casts or summons, I don't know which it really should be, a persona. Then yes, it disappears and he wouldn't have it, but still, there's a lot of times in the game where he does, you know, actually have it there. So with some of these small pieces, I might have to mess with my focus a little bit, but I'm going to try and avoid doing that just for, you know what? Let's see this a lot closer. Let's see how close I can actually get here. That's a lot better. All right, so you can kind of see the detail that they put in these faces. This is just a generic smile. He doesn't really have too many options in his faces, yet you still have some, so that's nice. This one's supposed to be more of like a devious smile look. Nasty little jerk. That's the second one, and the third one we will see more detail of in a minute, so I'm just going to leave that back there. Instead, I'm going to pull up the Morgana. Let's back up just a bit here. It's a little close. Okay, here we go. I have to manually do my focus here. My camera never likes cooperating when I do this, so I figured, you know, I'm just going to keep this on manual. Morgana is going to come in several pieces. The stand you have to build, and honestly, it was really irritating getting Morgana together. It's really just the head, the body, and then the two pieces for the stand. But the thing is, I actually had to go to I didn't need to use a hair blow dryer and set it to hot, really heat up the plastic on the back so I could even get the stand to hold. It was just not standing at all. I was going to say at the bottom of the feet, painted with like pads or something like that, but they're not. You would never see that. So, like I mentioned, I think the pre-order bonus that you would get for the new Joker is going to come with an additional Morgana head. It has like the treasure eyes, I think is what they call it, or something like that for Morgana, just another head. I don't know why you would want that, but there you go. But anyway, Morgana, it's actually a really nice extra piece that this came with, because I don't know about you, but I figure like the scaling, it just looks kind of cool to have more from the series that goes together. I'd prefer to have more accessories you can actually see all the time, you know what I mean? So you can always keep this out. So how about this? I'm actually going to take the stand off of here and just hold this and show you a couple things. For one, actually, while I'm talking about the stand, I'm just going to set him down. This is a different Figma stand from some other ones that I do have, mostly because you can see this is an extender piece up here. This comes off. So this is a normal Figma stand right now, and these things are amazing. These are probably the best figure stands I own, the Figma ones, just in case you were curious. I know I had like a really bad example because I was doing him, having him like stand up in the air and do some, it was the Smash Brothers pose that Best Buy stupidly leaked too early, so that's why I had him pose like that for way before we even knew what the pose actually was in Smash Brothers. But anywho's, this thing generally will hold a ton of weight at about any angle. They're very nice, I swear. It's just I had him holding a ton of weight all at the top, which, because of his jacket, this needs an extension. You can kind of see this right here. It's going to need this extension piece so that it can reach all the way up to his shoulder, because that's where his peg is. It's not in the lower back. Most Figmas attach back here. Well, the anatomy in Persona, the characters are really lanky already, so trying to fit it here, which would screw with his the folds in his jacket, they decided let's just move it higher and put an extension on this piece, so the physics of it gets a little wonky, and it might start to tip if you do something too crazy and airborne, but honestly, what you just saw on camera was the first time I've ever had any issues with that ever. So I'm going to get this to a comfortable position so we can get kind of close and see this guy, get some better shots of this. All right, cool. So I don't really want to completely disassemble what I had going for the face, but actually I'm going to push that focus back a little bit. I was a little too close. My focus looks best when it's really close and I'm seriously inches from my camera. I don't want to get that close. So anyway, as you can see, I wanted to cover like the hands and accessory parts that we have on him at the moment before I get any further. This is obviously the other open hand. He's got an open hand for either side. And then he's got a hand here to hold the dagger, which is loose in there. And I gotta say, is a little too loose. It can jiggle around, but typically that's kind of a nice thing because that means you can get it in there without scratching the paint on either the hand or the dagger. It is a pretty detailed dagger, I gotta say. I really like the look of the dagger with like a little bit of a metallic shine. They did the same thing on the gun for the record, so those are really nice. Just kind of moving up the arm. The cuffs are actually individual pieces, and they are, I would say, loosely on the arm. If you were to pop the hand off, which is just on a simple wrist joint here, if you were to pop the hand off, the cuff comes off, and it will just slide right off. So you gotta make sure you put them on properly if you do take them off like that on him. I would assume on accident. Also, different faceplate, as I mentioned, and hairpiece. So I kind of mentioned I was a little surprised they didn't come with an additional piece for just the mask by itself. But there you go. This is what it actually is. This is more of like a serious expression. I'm not going to get much closer as I'm using both hands. Can't really move my focus. But this is the mask attached to the hair, which honestly, you're probably going to want that on anyway. It's probably going to be the winner. If you haven't seen how that works, basically it's just the hair is in two pieces and it just kind of clicks in, holds in the faceplate, which they're always on nice joints in here for the neck. The only thing that's going to sort of limit him is the fact that his jacket is going to hold his head in a little bit, but this is not hard plastic. This is rubbery. I want to get in here so you can kind of see. This does move around, so if I really wanted to, I could make him do something really unnatural. It's just obviously, if you want to see him looking over his shoulder, you can't quite see as much, but still, it's just the shape of what his jacket is. And honestly, with all the rubber plastic in here, because the entire jacket, other than the arms are hard plastic, and this interior segment, this vest, and then of course down here is pants and boots, those are hard plastic. Everything else on him, on the jacket, the huge pieces, these are the softer rubbers. Now, the parts that come way down here, they actually feel like these are harder, but it's so that they can hold their form, and you can really move these to go up pretty high. Obviously, you would need more of like some action-y thing if that's really what you were going for. But anyway, you can kind of see as I did that, the plastic, the rubbery plastic of the actual vest moves with it because it's made of that rubbery material. So it's really a high-quality figure. In fact, I gotta say, this one I would expect they would want to charge extra for anyway, just because of how much detail was put into this guy and how they had to slightly change his anatomy up, because things like that, for a sculptor, that's really gotta screw people up if your base archetype is no longer correct and you have to change your anatomy for a character and make them have slightly longer torso, longer legs, move where the main base peg is going to be. Customizable stuff like that just takes a lot of work, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, a lot of detail that they got into his vest. Everything does kind of move the way you would expect. Now, in here, there is a joint for the torso. It's completely hidden. I would have to basically yank him apart in order to see it, and then I would have to just kind of hope I can put him back together by cramming it back together. But it feels like there's just an ordinary joint in the torso here. You kind of saw me wiggling the body around. He doesn't move at the hip. He's actually moving at that waist area. And those folds you're seeing in there caused by that are actually just, the shapes that they sculpted so that this thing can, bend that much. So there is a lot to it. Since I did this, you can actually see it in there. That it's kind of hard to see, but it is up in there. There is a joint that this is all attaching to, and then there's this segment here with the back of the, I would just say the cape area of the jacket, so that it can lock in and reconnect if you want him to stand up. But he also can take advantage of the fact that he has all that movement. Joint-wise, his arms are going to be very similar, with very sturdy joints. You can easily, smoothly move him wherever you want, and he will hold it. Fortunately, he doesn't have any really big, heavy accessories, so you don't have to worry about the figure itself tipping over. The only thing I've ever ran into, literally, was on this video. If you do something too crazy with him midair, remember, you are trying to hold him up this high, so he's got to have a good center of gravity. But anyway, similar things are going to be done with the legs. The legs are always a little different than the shoulders. But, of course, it's just, if it's natural, and sometimes even unnatural, that's about the distance of how far I can get some of these parts to move. But anyway, I really like the sculpting that they chose here for the pants to get the folds right. I think they look really good. Of course, the knee, they always make it so that your knees can kick out just a little extra farther than what's natural. Basically, just so that you can choose the exact distance of what you want to go for. And then here at the heel, has a good amount of movement, not a ton, but about as much as what you would expect, like I said, for something natural. And Joker is wearing boots with heels, so he does have heels in there. So, of course, the natural movement is a little tougher. So it's actually easier to get him midair, which, I mean, he does all sorts of, like, jumping and diving anyway. It's not a really big deal. So, anyway, yeah, I got to, I wanted to, like, quickly cover this guy because I'm really excited to, for one, I really love collecting a bunch of, Figmas and characters that, one, I'm a huge Smash Brothers freak, but two, I also had been wanting to get into Persona for a really long time, and 5 was actually the first one I got to play, so I'm a late game for this. Well, technically, I got to play 3 FES on my channel a little bit. We had a lot of technical problems. I was playing it with my friend Matt ways back on the channel, and we didn't really get very far. There was some issues with Atlas, and it just didn't go very far, like I mentioned. It was alright. I mean, though, when I saw 5 come out, I was like, this is the one I definitely have to get into. And as soon, of course, I saw they had like a huge series of Figmas, and then the ceiling deal was he got into Smash Brothers, and I was like, alright, I need this Figma. This thing is just too nice looking. Plus, anything that comes from Good Smile is typically very high quality and very, very nice. So I wanted to make sure that I got my hands on this guy, and then, of course, whenever I do get my hands on a new Figma, I want to show you guys, especially it's a video game related. I want to talk about these characters, show off the figure in case anybody is interested in getting something like this in the future. And as I mentioned towards the top of this video, I will be showing off the Arsene model that is to scale with Joker. And just as a scale here, I'm going to put him way in the back just to like kind of gauge this. Arsene, I can't even show you how tall he is compared to Joker. But if you've played this game, or maybe if you've seen Arsene in Smash Brothers, which ironically, I was so excited. He's actually like his main persona he uses in Smash Brothers. It's like, because I bought the model way before we actually saw him in Smash. Like, wow. I got super lucky in that, because now they're both basically going to count as those contenders as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to get to show them both off together in scale. So I'm really excited to show you Arsene. I'm going to do a video where I show the model itself, talk about the joints and stuff, kind of like how I did this time. Though this one is very simple because of how the pieces move in a Figma. They're pretty universal. The model is going to be different because obviously figuring out how Arsene is going to work is going to be its own little beast. So we're going to make a whole video on that, and then I'm going to do another video on my custom paint job whenever I get done painting him, which may take a while, but I am excited to get that done. So regardless, this is all the time I have for now. If you have any questions for me on a Joker, or if you're trying to get your hands on one of these guys, see what the prices are, I'm assuming they're going to start changing quite a bit, because as of right now, this can go upwards of $100 before the re-release shows up. The re-release one you can order right now, I believe, for like 60, 70, and the downside of that is it's going to be coming out, I think, in December, so you're going to be waiting a while. Though, of course, it does come with the extra Morgana head, if anybody seriously cares about that. Other than that, yeah, I mean, you can grab one now. They're also re-releasing a bunch of others, and I believe Skull, Ryuji, finally has a Figma of his own. Other than that, the other ones they have are so Panther, Yusuke, so Fox, and Makoto, which is Queen. And other than that, I think they have a Nendoroid for Morgana, but I mean, I kind of count like, I chuck Morgana off the list. This is fine for me. I'm gonna be totally cool with just having these guys, which is plenty. The Arsene is also actually gonna be like an awesome addition to the whole thing, and I really want to see these all together. But for now, I'm super happy with just Joker. He's actually one of my favorite Figmas that I have right now. He's really well done. I love the rubbery pieces they have in the extra, the jackets parts. The poseability in the waist is a really interesting addition. Helps him be very nimble and maneuver himself very well. My only complaint, which is kind of a silly one, is that he doesn't come with an extra mask that he can just hold and a handpiece that can just hold the mask. I found that a little weird, but regardless, it's really not that big of a deal. Like I said, I'm sure they did it because, like I said before, his mask can just turn into like some blue fire or something when he actually summons a persona. So whatever, I'm sure that's what they were going for, but regardless, I was kind of hoping just to at least have it, just because I love having a bunch of little stuff. Regardless, that is all the time I have for now. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember to like the videos and subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next figure review video. Booyah!